Hello, wealthy, successful, money making traders. This is your trader's friend. I'm so glad you can join me today. Guys, today I want to talk to you about different things, not even sure what to call this video today. This is a trade that I'm currently in, been in it for a long time now. I got in after we got this rejection here of where price had been this area of resistance, got this rejection, and I went ahead and got in right after this candle. The reason I have not gotten out, and I actually may get out of this trade now, is because we have not broken that previous level of resistance. We got this nice kind of strong candle to the downside. We hadn't closed above that yet. But now I see that we may be breaking and closing above this 50 SMA. We got this one candle that pretty much creamed all three of these moving averages. So I may be getting out of this trade soon. And I do want to remind you before I go to what I really want to talk to you about today is most of the time price will be range bound or choppy longer than it will trend. And sometimes you'll see where the market will move for 2 hours and then it's in a chop for like 14 hours. And that's what I want to pretty much talk to you about today. And why it is for me, I find the markets more difficult to trade than I used to years ago. So this Euro JPY was really just beating my brains out the other night. And I literally stayed up all night with this trade. But the thing about this trade is it stayed in this super tight trading range for 34 hours. And the reason that I didn't want to go to sleep until my body just literally crashed is because, sorry, lost my chain of thought. Is because I knew that after this tight range, the market was going to do a strong breakout. It was going to break out somewhere. And you can see how price was starting to wind up tighter. I'm showing you this first on the 1 hour time frame because I'm going to move to the 5-minute time frame, and you can't really see this as clearly on the 5-minute time frame. Another thing about this market is because we were so far above that 200 SMA, I was looking to go in a bullish manner, go in a bullish manner, go in a bullish manner. So we just had this kind of tight range. And you can see, like I said, you trend a little while, you chop for a long time. So a lot of times your wait markets are longer than your trending market. And I will tell you the hardest thing that I have had to learn, and you know I say discipline is the holy grail in the market. But the hardest thing I've had to learn as a trader is how to take a loss. And I am going to tell you how to take a loss. Take a loss as soon as you know that you are wrong. Learn to poop like a bird. You eat like an elephant. So when times are good, then you eat all that you can. Now this market, I've made a few pips off of this. So I've gotten into this market more than once. But literally, I was stuck in this market for that period of chopping back and forth and chopping back and forth. And this is, and let me take the time and blow that up for you. So in this going back and forth, all of this choppy, crappy looking price action, not running very long. So what I find myself doing a lot of times is trying to count the candles in the previous swing. About how long did it take? Sometimes it'll take 2 or 3 hours and you're in that particular swing before you go on to the next one. But then the next time it may be 45 minutes or whatever before you get that next swing, or a lot of just really choppy back and forth and back and forth. And you can see how tightly this price was starting to wind up right there. And all of the rejection you are getting at this area of resistance. And I kept looking for price to keep going and keep going and keep going. And I would get stopped out because I knew eventually price was going to go somewhere. So this is where the advantage came. And it was really, really hard. I'm talking to you after the fact, but the reason it was so hard is because I was waiting for this forever. My body just literally went to sleep before I re-woke back up and then got back in on this price action. But you can see where you got the last good trick, and you can see my previous trend line. But this was that last good trick. Look at this. You got this rejection off of the 50 SMA. You got this really strong candle moving up that had no further support. You came then within 30 minutes to re-break that 10 SMA. You bounced around. Now you have re-broken that 50 period SMA, but you get right here, right near this area of support, and you don't continue on. So it looks like you're going to continue. When you're in this little chop, it looks like you're going to continue. And then you had this really big pink candle running up to the upside. So you had this huge bullish candle that was going up. And within the last few minutes, not only did this candle lose all of its value, it continued beyond the opening point to close significantly, sorry, below the opening price. So this was that telltale sign. Now at this point, I was afraid to get in because I thought, okay, we're still bullish on the hourly time frame. And guys, I do want to remind you that as short-term traders, the most important trend is your right now trend. I can't say that enough. It is that right now trend. So because we were in this same area of support, and you can see that previously. So since we were in that same area of support, I did not want to get in yet, even though that was about the strongest move that was encountered for all of this previous price action. You did not have any candles this large. The closest that you had that was this large was the trick trap candle. And then you came here within that hour to make the strongest move that you made in over 34 hours. And so on the hourly candle, I drew this Fibonacci retracement, Fibonacci, whatever it is. So I drew this Fibonacci level because I was looking for opportunities to short back off of this area. It never did reach that 50%, but you can see how it eventually fell down. So you can see you have the fall, wait or chop, fall, chop, wait. And this morning you have had this crazy, incredible pullback. And I did not get as much money off of this pullback as the market gave because, again, we were near an area of support. So I got out pretty near this area of previous support. But the market came down beautifully. So you can see that nice pullback this morning, that strong rejection, the break of that 10, 220 SMA before price just continued to fall down. And now we are in this kind of end of the day chop. But overall, we are still bearish in this market. And again, as short-term traders, You are looking for the right now trend. That is the most important thing for you as a right now trader. The trend is your friend until it ends. So the trend is a finicky friend, a more reliable friend, and in the Forex market, the only friend you have is discipline, and or the only two friends you have rather is your discipline and the ability to cut a bad trade quickly. The way to take a loss in the market is to make it as small as possible. Because for me, all of this chop was about survival. It was just being in survival mode. The market was going nowhere, but I was so sure that it was going nowhere. And I pretty much wasted mostly a whole night and part of a day waiting for the market to move, which it eventually did. And I knew with that much chop, once it moved, whatever it was I lost, the market would give it all back to me and then some with profit. So just wanted to tell you, keep your losses small. Keep your losses small because when the market moves for you, then it will reward your discipline. And sometimes in the market, you are just in survival mode. And you will have these very long periods of chop. That's like a day and a half worth of pure chop. And if you go on your daily time frame, you'll see that you're in the chop sometime for days, weeks, and even months. But on the larger time frame, the chops are much better. But when you're in a tight range like this, just barely going nowhere, it can get really tough, especially when this thing goes on for hours and it's just choppy and you're watching yourself in and out of profit before the market moves for you. Let me think. I'm trying to see if there's any other thing I wanted to tell you before I let you go. Oh, and I was going to tell you with this. Your price action is going to be the best friend that you have in Forex besides the other two things that I named. Your price action will often trap you, but reading price action is more important than any other thing that you do in your market. So if it comes to close your candle, then you're out of that market, or even the previous candle. So here, if you put your stop under the previous candle, then that trade is dead. Keep those losses tight, and your trend is stronger than your candle, but more importantly than your trend is your price action. I hope I hadn't left anything out of what it is that I intend to tell you. Let's visit my previous trade. We're still in that little tight range, but the market so far is still bearish. I'm just hoping for a quick breakout to the downside before I am on my way out the door to shop. But I do want to remind you that you can absolutely do this. You can be successful at Forex. Enjoy a wonderful, amazing weekend.